be my chaplaincy in the hospitals. Or the third topic would be, I can't cover all three in 15 minutes. The third topic would be my role as a chaplain in the Army National Guard. So does anyone have votes of 1, 2, or 3? 3? 2? Okay, how many go with 1, my upbringing?
I was going to suggest you tell us what you wanted, and then you come again.
Well, you got me 2 more times. You got 2 other topics. So number 1, my upbringing to become a priest. No, not too many hands. Okay, that's fine. Number 4, I got 2. Number 2, my chaplaincy at the hospitals. 1, 2. My role as a chaplain in the military. Okay. I've always felt a liking to the Army in terms, because I know that they needed Army priests. They were desperate. My classmate Paul Lipsack from Dubuque Archdiocese, he went into the Army at the age of 40. I was still wanting to do it, but I hummed and dummed around for 4 years. So by the time I made a decision, I was 45, and that's old. You know, the Army won't let you go and start at 40, usually, unless they really need your MOS, your job. And number 2, can you physically do it? Can you do the training, the push-ups, the sit-ups, the out in the field kind of deal? And so I applied for it at 45, and the Army said, we will let you in on 2 conditions. Number 1, you countersign the waiver telling me we don't have to guarantee you for 20 years for retirement. You're probably not going to get 20 years. Number 2, you have to pass the physical test prior to we signing on to you. So I went down to Minneapolis, and unlike just the physical checkup that you get, eyes, nose, mouth, heart, and the bend over thing, I had to go through these exercises, these balance exercises, duck walk, crab walk, different yoga positions, because they wanted to know that I could physically do it. And so I signed, and they signed. And so I was first attached to Signal Battalion in Rosemont. When 9/11 happened, I said to myself in the back of my mind, we're going to go and we're going to get deployed. The National Guard is no longer going to just be the weekend warrior. But I thought we would be backfilling when the Army goes active out there. Well, soon I realized we were the ones out of the front line. Bosnia, we weren't there the actual war, but it was hard because there were a lot of roadside bombs out there or anti-personnel mines in the field. So we would never walk around in the neighborhood, in the pasture, so I served there. And because we had a Minnesota unit down in Kosovo, and it was around Lent and Easter, the unit there asked me to fly down while everybody else went back to America. I flew down to Kosovo to help out with them. You know, as a Catholic priest, you're assigned to a battalion, a group. But because you're the Catholic priest, you've got to provide for all the Catholics in the other battalions. And so I'm always getting in a helicopter, I'm always getting in a plane. I'm going to celebrate Mass here, celebrate Mass there. So I was very, very busy. So, and then of course, you mentioned about the 17 months in Iraq. We spent 6 months at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, right after Hurricane Katrina. That was rough because that camp was all tattered from the hurricane that went through north. But 6 months there is a long time. And then went to Iraq. And it was kind of funny. It was a long trip to Iraq. And when we landed in Kuwait, or when we landed, in Kuwait, everybody got off the bus. It was 112 degrees at night. And we all clambered into the bus. And you know what was kind of funny, because I'm kind of a sensitive priest, so don't say any bad things, I'll start crying. When we were driving on that bus, there was an eerie silence amongst the soldiers. A silence that I've not felt before. I mean, yes, all of us were beat and tired because it was a long trip to get there on a plane. But I sensed kind of like, oh my gosh, we're here. You know, we're in Iraq. And it was the weirdest feeling that I felt, like a sense of trepidation, maybe fear, maybe whatever. And I said to myself, I got to make sure that I talk to the soldiers. You know, you don't wait for them to talk to you. You don't wait for them to come to you in your office. I was very seldom in my office. The Air Force chaplains, God bless them, they're office chaplains. They sit in their office. You know, they don't get out on the line much. But I was there because that's where I wanted to be, like boots on the ground. And I walked and walked and walked. While in Iraq, they said I put more than 6,000 miles in the vehicle. On all my trips to all the posts and all the bases and all the little places. All the while, of course, Iraq had a lot of roadside bombs. I don't know how many rosaries I must have prayed. And as a chaplain, I can't wear a weapon. I can't carry a weapon. I have a chaplain assistant. First question I ask my chaplain assistant is, how good are you with your weapon? One of the best chaplain assistants I had was when I went to Kuwait. His name is Sergeant Coop. And he was Ranger trained. Get the Ranger tab on. I felt safe with him because he was good. But it's a matter of going out there. You know, you gotta be walking amongst the soldiers, because you know, you turn around the corner, there is an opportunity for you to minister. You keep your eyes and ears open all the time. So, like I said, I didn't do a lot of desk work or office work because I was never in the desk or in the office. I was always out there. You know, I had 3 memorial services I had to do. One of my soldiers died from a roadside bomb. Another one died from a rollover accident, and another one died of a heart attack. And so I had 3 different funerals to do, and it's difficult. You got to get, you know, that's why you have to be amongst them. You got to know what they're thinking. You got to know how you got to sense of anything of chaplains is so important that you have to have an instinct. Not just to hear what the soldiers are saying, but to hear how they're saying and what they're saying. Not just, how's it going? Oh, fine. Oh, that doesn't sound like fine. I'm doing okay. That sounds like something else. So you got to reach out into them. And chaplains are unique because chaplains are the only position where if a soldier comes to me and tells me something in confidence, very much like confession, I cannot break that confidence. I don't care if the general puts me down on the witness stand and says, well, we're going to put you in the brig if you don't say what he said to you. Sorry, I can't break that confidence, because that is what binds me to the soldier, that they can trust me. And so you got to have that trust. They got to have that trust in you. Without that trust, something's missing. And that even goes for this, the sexual, SARC, I forgot what the acronym is, sexual assault response thing. We are also, sometimes we'll hear about sexual abuse. Unless the individual releases me and lets me tell somebody, I don't care what I hear. I don't know, I don't care who did that to the person. I cannot reveal that. because it's the victim who has the control and the ability to say, I don't want you to share with anybody. And I have to protect that. I mean, my guts tell me, I gotta protect this person. I gotta tell somebody. Somebody's gotta do something about it. Not if the victim says, you will not share this with anybody. Luckily, I'm a Catholic priest, so confessions are, it's easy to hold it inside. But it would bother you, wouldn't it? You want to help and save someone. Well, you will by being present to the people. So my experience in the Army was, I didn't know I was going to make it, but when I got to be approaching 60, I was worried because, again, they didn't guarantee me they could kick me out at 60. That's when they kick you out. So I'd apply every year. I'd apply for an extension, an extension, an extension. 3 requirements for me to get extended. Number 1, they needed my position. Of course, they did. Number 2, I could still run, do the push-ups. And the 3rd, I would not be in the way of another chaplain getting a promotion. I can't be in the pipeline because I'm here, this major wants to become a lieutenant colonel, but they can't because I'm in that position. The Army will say, you got to get out. You're blocking someone else's chance. So luckily and fortunately, I was able to extend 5 times until I was 65, and I got my 20 years plus 2 weeks of the Army, which was kind of nice because you get a retirement check. Yay. Sorry. I wasn't doing it for the money, but it's nice. And I got to apply for TRICARE. That's health insurance. And that's good. I had Blue Cross or Blue Shield or TRICARE, so I had 2 of them. So that's, and I don't have to pay for health insurance. I mean, it was a bonus, but I did it because I wanted to serve, not because I was going to get, those 2 were just icing on the cake. Any questions? Yeah.
What'd you do between deployments? So deployments weren't that often.
40 of my 45 years has been hospital ministry. 3 years at North Memorial, 37 years at Fairview Southdale and Methodist. So I was basically a hospital chaplain. 40 of my 45 years. So I don't have a lot of parish experience. When I was a chaplain for the deaf, that's my closest to being a pastor because I could sign. And there are very few priests know how to sign. So
you didn't work at the VA hospital?
No, that's government. That's a government job.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for your service to the country and your service to our Lord.
Thank you. Yeah, I was surprised when I got the Bronze Star in Iraq. You usually get a medal, get Army Commendation Medal, which is nice, but when they called me up, I was a little surprised. I mean, really, yeah.
How old were you when you got ordained?
I was ordained at 24 years old.
Okay, so for 20 years roughly, you weren't in the service.
I know, I should have been, but I wasn't. But I waited a long time, but I don't know how I made it through the physical training. Everybody else is in their late 20s, early 30s, the other chaplains, and I told myself I would never come in last running. Believe me, I never came in last. I didn't want to be the last person. And it was good. It was good. It was fulfilling.
There were women and men, as in a long time ago and it was all men, but when you were deployed, there were women and men.
In my unit, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of dealt with issues from 2 different sides here, if you will.
For sure. Yeah, we had a lot of good women. Yeah.
What were some of the challenges of being a hospital chaplain?
Hospital chaplain, challenges being a hospital chaplain. Being available 24/7. I know a lot of Catholic priests, you know, they'll take a day or two off. And I go, why? I mean, you know, are you not a parent one day a week? You're a parent all the time. So as a chaplain for the hospital, I mean, would I take time off? Yes, but I would take time off when I needed to. I called another priest to cover a day here, 3 days here. But I didn't have regular days off. And then of course I was available for weekends to help out parishes because I didn't have my own parish, so I could help them out. So that was good. It's difficult because when you walk into a room, and I'm sliding over to my topic too, you slide over and you go into a room. Imagine me coming up to your door, knocking on your door, and all I know is that you're Catholic. When I went into a patient's room, I felt very, very careful. I identify myself, say I see that you're Catholic, I introduce myself, but where that person goes, it's all up to the person. In about 20 seconds, I gotta assess whether or not I should stay or I should go. And I gotta be very sensitive. I mean, here's a patient, doggone hospital gown. I mean, you got more clothes when you're in prison than you have in a hospital room, right? Stupid little gown. And you gotta be very sensitive and go in with a smile and affirming look and not judge them, and because you don't know where they are Catholic-wise. You don't know if they're left, right. Do they want you there? Do they not want you there? So you got to assess that very quickly.
You always carry the Lord with you?
Yes. I have a little kid, oil and communion. Yeah. I carry that when I was in the hospital all the time. And then I got a backup emergency oil in my car.
What are you doing in retirement, Father?
Helping out parishes, doing the same thing. Covering the hospitals when they need me. And I was telling my group, I'm umpiring baseball games.
Seriously?
See, from 15 years old to 22, I used to umpire high school and college games. And so when I came back this spring, in February, March, I had an eye exam. One eye was 20/20, one eye was 20/40. And I said, I still can see. Do you think they let me be an umpire? Like the Army, they need umpires.
Yes, they do.
So I've been umpiring 12-year-old to 17-year-old baseball games.
Boy.
That's great.
But sometimes I get confused because I'm a priest. You know, this is safe, this is out. And sometimes I say, heaven, hell. Oh, no, it's safe, out. I don't want to get those words mixed up. Yeah.
You said you were talking about the fitness requirements and stuff. Do they have different requirements as you got older? Like so many push-ups
fewer push-ups, fewer sit-ups, and a little bit more time to run the 2 miles.
Okay, but you said you never came in last, so.
I never came in last. Now, the women have a lot better, they have a lot more time to run the 2-mile race than what we did. But the sit-ups were the same for the men and for male and female. The sit-ups were the same number, no matter if you were male or female. The only difference was your age category. Like now this is the PT test we took is completely out now. We got a whole new PT test, and that's hard. There's seven stations. I don't know if I could have made it. 7 stations.
So the people that came in after you said you weren't last, were they older or younger or the same age?
I was one of the oldest at 45. Basic training. The only people they let in 40-45 is going to be a doctor, a nurse, or a priest or a position that they need, they will make exceptions and waivers. But if I was just 45, you know, just working, they would say, bye. Yeah.
You don't know the ratio of priests to enlisted, you know, one priest per.
Priests are probably the smallest group of ordained ministers, and yet we have the highest percentage of Catholic soldiers. I mean, you've got 20%, 25% Catholic. So we have a high percentage of Catholics that serve in the military, and few priests.
Is there one particular, and it's a tough one particular experience that you experienced as a priest saying Mass in the combat zone?
I had Mass at Christmas in the camp we were on near Nazaria, which is near the city of Ur, U-R. And Ur is the home of Abraham. Well, at that time, Abram. And they've been geologists or, you know, people, what do you call those people who dig? Archaeologists. They've been digging this city of Ur. And we know that Abram was in that house because etched on a brick was Abram was here. But he was from that city. So I had Christmas Mass at the home, at the place where God appeared to Abraham. That was pretty cool. That was cool. And we had a big, we had country western singers were there. We had like several hundred people. But while we were there, we had this perimeter around us, and then an outside perimeter around that. And so we had our trucks and our vehicles circling because we were open targets. So we had security galore for us. But it was in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we didn't want to be out there at night. So we had Christmas afternoon Mass. It was like, I mean, it was very moving for all of us. So, as I had a couple hundred people.
I think it's called the apostolic blessing that you give someone when they're dying. Do you ever use that?
You know, for 35 years, that question probably hardly ever came up.
Oh, okay.
The last 2 or 3 years, because of our younger ordained priests or priests more recently ordained, that apostolic blessing is coming up a lot more. I'm getting more requests for that. So I never needed to do it, really, because no one was ever asking me. And since I was giving the sacrament of the sick, which is forgiveness of all sins, I thought, well, I know the Pope is a wonderful Pope. And that blessing is a very nice blessing, but I just removed all the sin. I mean, Jesus did, from this person. So, but people are asking for that more. So it's coming back in terms of requests.
And then pardon goes with the apostolic blessing is usually.
Yeah, the apostolic blessing and pardon. So, but you know, it's not like it's removing sin. I mean, because only Jesus can do that through the sacrament. But that's for another topic. Come back sometime and explain the differences there. Not big differences, but priests are using it more and people are asking for it more. So,
Where are you living in retirement?
St. Patrick's in Edina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Father Coos, he was a Navy chaplain for 20 years. So we talk stories.
Foxhole buddies.